Action Park
Media.
All right, let's get a mic check here. 1, 2, 1, 2. Episode 6. No gruffs given. Playoff hockey is in the air. We today, fans of the game, de facto team members like myself. I consider myself a part of the Tampa Bay Lightning organization. You know, I'm a close personal friend of Steve Yzerman. He was the man that built the Tampa Bay Lightning dynasty. You know, people say to me, and I've been getting a lot of these messages, "Oh, you're a bandwagon fan." A lot of people tell me I'm a bandwagon Tampa Bay Lightning fan. So let me ask you, how do you become a legitimate fan? In the eyes of these individuals on social media, how do I become legitimate? I mean, I watch every single Tampa Bay Lightning game. I cheer for them. I actually get gutted when the team's not playing well. I get excited when the team's playing well. All right. I live and breathe the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't wear any of their merchandise. I don't have a jersey. I don't have a hat. But I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning fan. Okay. I was a St. Louis Blues fan when I was 12 years old, but I was also a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. Okay. I was a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. I grew up in Toronto. I loved the Maple Leafs. So who are you to tell me what team I'm a fan of, and how do I officially become a fan of that team? We are basically an hour and 15 minutes away from the drop of the puck of the start of the season. I got distracted by somebody walking by. I don't know what's going on. It's that time of year where we have something to look forward to no matter who we are. If we're a hockey fan, we're excited about the season coming to an end and the real hockey beginning. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this, okay? Because I was thinking this morning, I was pondering. I actually, let me understand how I was thinking of this, okay? So it's a bigger picture thing. It's kind of like in my head for a second. What I was thinking about was I was trying to analyze what I did well and what I didn't do well when I was a player, because I want to talk about what it takes to win the Stanley Cup now, this year, all right? And, you know, also in the modern day NHL, which was much different than the NHL I played in. Now, the only Stanley Cup team that I was a part of was my first year in the NHL, the Detroit Red Wings, okay? Some would say one of the greatest, I think on paper, the best team ever assembled. Can you pull up the lineup from the 2002 Detroit Red Wing? I'm nervous, okay? This isn't the best start that I've ever had in a podcast, but I got to tell you, I'm nervous. I also want to tell you one thing. We're going on a journey, okay? Now, our good friends at spreads.ca have now come back into the fold, and they are officially our gambling partner for the 2022 Stanley Cup Playoffs, okay? Spreads.ca. Now, I want you to understand something. You might have seen something if you live in Canada, specifically Ontario. The Score is I guess it's a gambling site. It used to be sort of like a TSN where you go and watch highlights, but now specifically I think it's a gambling site. They were purchased at some point by Penn National. Penn National Gaming owns Barstool. Dave Portnoy was in Toronto last week, I believe, for the week, trying to promote the Score. What you may not know, or maybe you do know if you're from Canada, but this is news to me, that you can only actually bet on the Score if you live in Ontario. The reason I'm telling you this is because our official partner of the playoffs is spreads.ca. Okay, couple of interesting bets that I think that you should take a look at. I went in there and I was looking around going, all right, what are we going to do? What direction are we going to do from a betting standpoint for this playoffs? Okay, so when I go into hockey, I'm explaining this to you. You go in, you set up your account, play.spreads.ca, okay, if you're in Canada. And I personally know these guys. These guys are friends of mine. I'm telling you right now, you can trust gambling with spreads. All right. If you have a gambling problem, you should call 1-800-GAMBLER. I just said that. That was not part of any sort of language. I believe that's what it's called, right? I see it sometimes on the ends of some people that are promoting gambling. Gambling is a dangerous situation, but you can have fun with it. You can get the juices flowing. So you go into spreads.ca, okay? You go into their hockey section. Now, when you get there, you have options. I want you to go into the all leagues category, all right? Then you're going to go into NHL. Now, when you get into the NHL section, you have game odds and then you have outrights. Outrights is a new term that I just got educated on. So let's go to the Tampa-Toronto series, all right? To win the series, it's basically a dead heat. If you take Tampa Bay, you bet $1, it pays $1.95. If you take Toronto and you bet $1, it pays $1.86. So the odds makers are saying this is a right down the middle pick 'em. That's what they call it. They call it a pick 'em. Now, if you're an educated hockey person, you would say to yourself, like I would say, you know what? I think the Leafs have a very tough schedule ahead of them. I don't know if they match up to them from a lineup standpoint, goaltending, defense, offense, forwards, coaching. Okay? You know, I don't know if the odds makers consider coaching when they're setting the odds. I really don't. I don't know if they know enough about the game, if they're going off of instinct, intuition, mathematics. I'm not sure. But it's part of my homework and the equation that I come up with when saying, you know what, who's going to win this series? You can also, which I find very interesting, you can bet like who's going to win in how many games. The odds get very interesting when you start doing that, all right? Let's take, for example, let's go to St. Louis and Minnesota, all right? So if you say that series is going to go 4 games only, that pays $7. If you bet $1, you could win a $7 fucking payout, all right? That's if you call it in 4 games. There's all kinds of these different bets, and I wasn't fully prepared. All outrights. Okay, let's go to this for a second. I want to tell you something. I want to explain something. All right. Most goals for St. Louis Blue versus Minnesota. You can bet against. You can take Joel Eriksson Ek or David Perron. I think Perron's going to have a hell of a series. I think he's gonna score some goals. Kyrou, is that the kid's name?
Yeah, Jordan Kyrou.
This kid, you know, what type of series is he gonna have? You know, all of these things, you got to think about the minutia when it comes down to it. Most goals, you know, Kaprizov versus Tarasenko. There's a lot of amazing bets. So what I want to say is, we're riding and dying with spreads.ca. They're going to be our partner officially for the Stanley Cup Playoffs. I am going to place some bets via my brother Scott. My brother Scott lives in Ontario. Now, again, you don't have to just live in Ontario. You can live anywhere in Canada. That's the difference between spreads and the score. It's going to be a fun time, and we're going to go on a ride. That being said, I want to get into some other things.
Can I read the roster for the 2002 Red Wings for you?
Yeah, absolutely, you can.
I'd love to start with just scoring, kind of the scoring leaders.
No, just
you
give me
just
the
go straight down?
names on the roster.
Top name on the roster is Sean Avery, number 42.
Okay, who else? Give me the whole team.
I'm coming right down the line.
All right.
Yuri Butsayev,
Yep.
Chris Chelios, Matthew Dandino, Pavel Datsuk, Boyd Devereaux, Chris Draper, Steve Duchesne, Sergei Fedorov, Yuri Fisher, Brent Gilchrist, Dominic Hasek, Thomas Holstrom,
Yep.
Brett Hull, Ladislav Kohn, Yui Krupp, Maxim Kuznetsov,
Yep.
Igor Larionov,
Yep.
Manny Legacy,
Yep.
Nick Lidstrom, Kirk Maltby, Darren McCarty, Frederick Olesen, Luke Robitaille, Brendan Shanahan, Yuri Slegger, Jesse Wallen,
Yep.
Jason Williams, and Stevie Y.
Stevie Y. Yeah, I mean, you know, you just think about how that team was built, okay? Top to bottom. Scotty Bowman, the tweaks, the insight, the gut feelings that he had on certain occasions to just change the lines. All of that is built into experience, winning Stanley Cups. But I think one of the most interesting parts of how do you win a Stanley Cup, I think collectively, and experience is always this word you hear. And honestly, experience is important. Tampa went out, they got Pat Maroon after he won a Stanley Cup with St. Louis. What I think experience does in a dressing room, in an NHL dressing room during the playoffs, is it keeps everybody calm, okay? You lose one game in the series. You lose game one in the series, all right? I believe that year with Detroit, I think we lost the first two games against Vancouver, all right? We went back to Vancouver, and you might remember Nick Lidstrom scored a goal from center ice, all right? On, I don't know who was Vancouver's goalie, the tough guy.
Kirk McLean?
No, Kurt McLean. No. Potvin what was his name? Fuck, I can't remember his name. Anyways, it changed the whole series, right? I remember the flying from Detroit to Vancouver. There was not panic. I remember when we landed in Vancouver. It was probably 2 a.m, and there was all these Vancouver Canuck fans waiting for us, the Red Wings, at the airport. And they followed us all the way to downtown Vancouver, to the Sutton Place Hotel, with their cars, honking. They had their brooms out, the fucking the windows, out the sky roofs, everything. Girls were showing their breasts, the whole thing. Sweep, sweep, sweep. Everybody on that bus, in my opinion, undoubtedly believed that they were going to come back and win that series. I don't think collectively there was a single guy that didn't believe. That's where this whole thing begins. If you don't believe that you can win and beat a team, no matter how much the odds are stacked against you, if collectively 24, 25 guys come together and they say, fuck this, we are winning this series, then they can win this series. Doesn't matter who you're playing, all right? The will to win and believe in each other and go that extra mile, that can win series. That can outscore skill, that can kill more penalties, it can do a lot of things, all right? But there's a bunch of other things that I think come into this. You need a bunch of guys that have nowhere to go, okay? You need all of these players to be locked and loaded and say, you know what? I want to enjoy the next 8 weeks, 10 weeks of my life because, one, I have an excuse to not be bothered. Everyone in my life knows that I am off limits for the next 12 weeks. I am not to be bothered. There's no mandatory things for me to do outside of being at the rink and being ready to play, all right? I'm not going to dance recitals if I don't. I mean, everything gets put on the shelf. And part of the other thing is you have to understand how important families are to these players. Now, there's some guys that are single and they don't have a lot of responsibilities. But you got to think, now being a dad and understanding, like some of these players have wives and they have multiple children. And that is a lot to fucking balance. And think about the bubble when they couldn't see their family for a few months. Don't underestimate how difficult of a Stanley Cup that was to win, all right? Much more difficult than I think any traditional Stanley Cup in the past. I don't know what year it was, but we were playing in the playoffs, and I think we were playing Buffalo in the second round. And it was a close series. We'd win, they'd win, we'd win, they'd win. I think after a game, I don't know what game, but maybe it was us going down in the series 3-2. Something crept into my mind, and today is the Met Ball in New York. It's the Met Gala, all right? It's the first Monday in May. I remember at this point, we were in the second round of the playoffs already. So think about that. The schedule is crazy these days. Like, we're starting the playoffs today, and I remember not so long ago, we were already midway through the second round at this point, whatever year it was, 2000, let's call it 2007 or 2008. And I thought to myself, fuck, if we lose this series, it won't be the end of the world because I'll be able to go to the Met Ball. Now, that's why I'm thinking today, maybe my life, maybe I wasn't maybe the thing that I'm supposed to truly be excellent at and elevate myself above, what's expected is my life now. Being a actor on film, this is where my excellence is really I'm going to meet my expectations of my excellence. Now, why the fuck was I thinking that? That if we lose this series, well, maybe there's a consolation here. So I'll give myself the benefit of the doubt. That's probably what I was thinking. All right. It's not the end of the world. I've got something to look forward to. You can't have that mindset. You have to think that it is the end of the world. All right. Maybe not so much losing a game, but losing a series means you're done. You're out. So think about the pressure. And I wonder, does Mitch Marner have the weight of the world on his shoulders right now? Because they need him to finally do something in Toronto. All right. The last 12 NHL playoff games, Mitch Marner hasn't scored a goal. All right. Austin Matthews scored 60 during the regular season. Today, everybody starts with the same exact statistics. All right. Nobody's got any points. Nobody scored any goals. All right. So you got a clean slate for guys that are under contract or their contract is about to end. This is a fucking tryout that your whole entire life is going to depend on. All right. This is you putting your stake in the ground for the future. All the marbles are in on this. All right. This is you being able to extend your career possibly beyond this season. I mean, who knows what Zdeno Chara's thinking? He might want to play. He plays for Washington, correct?
No, he's with the Islanders now, so he's out.
Done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so Z's done. All right. As an individual player, you have to say to yourself, it's time to elevate my game. Okay. Bumps and bruises, they don't exist. All right. Everybody's going to be all gassed up on the good stuff. Now we transfer from Toradol and the pill version to Toradol, the shot in your ass. And I've explained it to you guys before on this, but it's worth revisiting. Okay. 15 minutes before warm-up, you go into the trainer's room and the doctor's in there. Now, this isn't for guys that don't have injuries. Don't get this twisted. All right. You don't just get to put your name on the fucking board and get your Toradol injection, even though you're not injured. All right. Even though you're not hurt. I mean, hurt and injured are two different things, but you're possibly not getting a Toradol shot for being hurt. You got to be injured. All right. Maybe there were some exceptions. All right. I might have been on that list, but I'm not going to incriminate myself. So the stakes are high. Okay, you go in, you get the shot. What happens is you walk back from the training room to your stall. And if you're a wise man, you'll get something hot. You'll get some hot water with some honey. All right, something warm with a little kicker of sugar. Okay, you'll sip on that and you'll feel it. You'll feel it moving through your body. Okay, your nerves. You're getting ready. You want this thing to kick in. Countdown clock's going, warm-ups, 4 to 5 minutes away, so you get your skates on, you get all your gear on, all right? You get out onto the ice. It's the first game of the playoffs. Your adrenaline's starting to kick in. You get out there, you take your first couple of strides, fuck, you're sore. You still feel it, okay? Now, maybe you're just maybe your bones, you haven't warmed up fully, all right? By the second or third lap, you start to feel something, okay? It's like Tony Stark when he hits the button and the armor starts to open up on his body. Now, 5-6 minutes into warm-up, it hits you, okay? It's like clear the mechanism, a wave comes over your body, and you feel it. It's a warmth, but it's not a physical warmth. All of a sudden, everything feels good. Your first couple of strides, you got a little hop in your step. Your whole body feels good. You might have gone the last 20 games of the season banged up, all right? Nagging injury. You don't know if you're going to feel great. Who knows, depending on the legs. Not now. So I'll say it again. Everyone's on a clean slate from a scoring standpoint, okay? Plus minus the whole kit and caboodle. But they're also on the same slate for the most part with the injuries because you got the gas in you and you're ready to go. All right? Now coming back to the whole, who do you want on your team? I want guys that have nowhere to go. I want guys that have family support, that they're not going to get hounded, and we know we're dialed in as a family, okay? Because you win as a family, you lose as a family, all right? You also want guys that aren't afraid to take chances. There's certain points in games during the playoffs where you got to go off the script, okay? You go with your intuition and you make a decision that could have devastating effects, but you do it because you have a feeling. You take a fucking chance, all right? Now, you can do that as long as your fundamentals are rooted in not cheating. And again, I've watched some of my playoff games. You know, I wasn't the player that I should have been. It was a different league then. We played a different way. We cheated because of, I'll call it cheating, but the hooking and the holding, it was tough to play in it. So you tried to sometimes, you cheated because you didn't want to go through it because maybe you just couldn't constantly go through it. It was the wrong way to play, all right? So you want guys that are going to buy into the system and not panic. You can't panic. You go down a goal, all right? You can't fucking panic. I just saw my old junior team, the Kingston Frontenacs, playing the Oshawa Generals in the first round in the chase for the Memorial Cup. Oshawa scored with 4 seconds left to tie the game. Kingston went into overtime. Shane Wright, projected number 1 overall pick. Anyways, the kid scores a big fucking OT winner, all right?
Draft eligible this year.
Yeah, he's going to go number 1, I believe. Big-time players play big-time games, all right? I want you to do yourself a favor. Go back and watch some of the Steve Yzerman games in 2002. What?
Oh, it's just, it was a mock. I was mistaken. But
mock draft?
Yeah, the mock says that Canadians will take him number 1 overall.
Speaking of Canadians, that Cole Caulfield had a nice little finish to the season, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, hat trick in his last game, I believe.
His first career hat trick. And,
empty netter.
So just like you said, St. Louis.
Well, he's doing something. You don't want any distractions outside, all right? Turn my phone off. The tickets, getting friends tickets for games, I can't do it for anyone. The great ones, they shut everything down. You know, maybe they have somebody every once in a while, somebody very important that all right, I take care of them. I put their name on the list, and I don't think about it again. It's done, all right? The home games, my wife, my kid, the tickets are set. Don't worry about it. You tell your team ticket guy, this is my for sure list. Don't bother me the rest of the playoffs. You gotta eat it, you gotta drink it, you gotta sleep it. You can't think of anything else. You have to understand that you're possibly only gonna get to be able to do this, if you're lucky, 12, 14 times in your entire life. Some guys maybe 3, 4 times in your entire life. You're going to live 80 fucking 90 years on this earth. And you're only going to get to play in a Stanley Cup playoffs 3 times. Some guys play 10 years in the league and they only get to play in the playoffs 3 times. This is the most important defining moment of your career. The legends, the superstars that we remember, that we wear their names on the back of our jerseys, these are the guys that step up and do special things during the playoffs. Now, the one thing I can say is that I was a fucking great playoff player, much better playoff player than regular season player. I relished the big-time games, all right? I remember going to pregame meal with Brendan Shanahan. We had a game towards the end of the season that we had to win, a regular season game against the Islanders. And I was so nervous I couldn't eat. It was when I had first gotten traded to the Rangers. And I looked over at Shanny, and he was just like happy as a pig in shit, eating, reading his paper, very happy, calm, excited. everything. And I was a wreck. And I looked over at him and I said, "Aren't you nervous?" And he said, "Yeah, of course I'm nervous." He was nervous, but he understood how to manage those nerves because he had been there. He had been there, and he knew that the nerves, the levels of the nerves it was going to be like a slalom course. Like we were on a fucking bike ride in the Italian slopes. It's going to go up and down. It's going to level. There's going to be different. It's just going to change. But you got to stay fucking even keel. You got to keep focused on the job. You got to get out there every single shift, play one shift at a time. Don't play the end of the game at the beginning of the game. Just play the same fucking way. Those are the guys you want on your team that can handle adversity. That's how it comes down to. Now, I want to read this interesting article that the great Larry Brooks wrote, okay? It's a great article, and it just talks a little bit about playoff scheduling because, you know, when we look at these fucking schedules this year, who's playing who, it's really wild, all right? I want to read this, all right? The most inequitable, it's funny that Brooksy uses inequitable. I mean, Brooksy's a raging liberal. I love him. He's a Democratic raging liberal. I don't know what happened to him, and he works for the New York Post, which is a conservative newspaper. I mean, they are. It's a great article. The most inequitable playoff format in North American pro sports creates early round matchups that inevitably guarantees elimination of elite teams while ensuring that lesser clubs advance. The system also typically generates more interest early in the tournament instead of reaching a crescendo with the conference finals and Stanley Cup final. Well said. All right. These are not anomalies or hiccups. These are not flaws. These are features of the system that went into effect in 2014 and replaced the 1 through 8 conference seedings and second round reseeding that served everybody well for the previous 20 years, except perhaps the marketing people at the league who crave brackets. Michael sent me his bracket, his NHL bracket. Tell us who you have for your bracket. I thought it's an interesting pick. Finals.
Minnesota, New York.
Why?
Goaltending. And really just sort of easiest path. You know, you look at the top Eastern Conference bracket, it's like Florida, Toronto, and Tampa, and then Washington if they had stronger goaltending. I mean, those teams they're going to eat each other up. Yeah, so goaltending, Shesterkin, and I think ultimately it's going to be Marc-Andre Fleury, and it's going to be a story.
Well, I was going to ask you that. You love a story. You're such a story guy. You love the flower. Cam Talbot, 12-0, I believe. 12-0 and something since the trade deadline, and the Flower 8-0, 8-0 and something, 8-0 and 2. You've got two goaltenders that have both played lights out since they were put together on the same team.
Yeah.
So you think, tell me how this is going to play out. Who's going to start game one?
Cam Talbot.
You think Cam Talbot's going to start game one?
I do.
So he's the starting goaltender?
Yeah. And I think
When was that determined?
It's kind of been that way. The Flower was sort of the depth pickup.
Yeah.
Also just not putting a lot of pressure on him for that, but it's all just anything can happen. And if you have to go to the bench, you know, that first matchup they have, they're going to have two Stanley Cup goalies, Minnesota and St. Louis, two Stanley Cup winning goaltenders on the bench. Flower and Binnington. Okay,
and so at what point do you think Fleury is going to get the nod? Is this going to happen in the first round?
Yeah.
You do?
I do.
So you think because it's going to be a close series, Talbot's going to lose a game?
Yeah.
Game one, game two?
Maybe both.
Wow. And then you think Fleury's going to come in, save the day, start the story,
That's
the journey?
My hunch.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. Very Hollywood. You're going in. Let me finish this. So these are not, okay. So brackets. So this year, the 4th overall Maple Leafs will meet the 8th overall Lightning. The 5th overall Wild will face the 9th overall Blues, while the 7th overall Rangers will play the 12th overall Penguins. And the 11th overall Oilers will confront the 14th overall Kings. These are overall in the whole entire league standings. It's as if the French Open created a seeding system under which Nadal would face Medvedev in the year's opening round. This was the season that made claims of parity into a parity, with the East 8 playoff qualifiers having broken away from the field by the Christmas recess. 10 teams completed the season with a winning percentage of .650 or better. There were 3 such teams in the league's previous full seasons of 18-19 and an average of 4 per season over the first 13 full seasons of the hard cap era. But the field for the Cup has rarely, if ever, seemed so wide open. It's kind of like the Kentucky Derby, in which there are 22 entries because no horse truly stands out. That is because the teams that finished at the league's tippity top, and that would be the Putty Tats from Florida, the Avalanche of Colorado, and the Candy Canes of Carolina, all have incomplete playoff portfolios and all enter the tournament with goaltending questions. It is impossible to remember a tournament in which so many teams entered with such instability in nets. Touching on your beautiful poetic story about Marc-Andre Fleury. But there is no instability and there are no questions when it comes to reigning Conn Smythe winner Vasilevsky of the 2-time defending champ Lightning. That is the touchstone in the series against the Leafs. It's not about the Toronto's cup drought, 55 years. It's not even about the franchise's failure to win a single postseason series since 2004. All right? Now remember, Austin Matthews goes from 60 to 0, which happens to equal Mitch Marner's postseason goal total over the last 2 tournaments. The Lightning have created a special aura. They have a special group. And now the Leafs, who received finicky playoff goaltending from Frederik Andersen the last 5 years, have to rely on untested 30-year-old Jack Campbell or 25-year-old neophyte Eric Kallgren to stop the cold drive for the past three-peat. Okay? So I got off there a little bit, but it's a great article by Brooksy. He talks a lot about a bunch of other things, but the scheduling is fucking... It's crazy, all right? Also, Tristan Jarry. So Tristan Jarry's out for the first 2 games of the series, right? That's going to be... I mean, I don't know how the Penguins have a chance against the Rangers. I don't. I mean, if you don't have your goalie, you're screwed against that team. I would say, honestly, right now, I'll say it, there's a chance they get swept. I believe Sid has been swept before. You would say, no, Sidney Crosby could never get swept in a series. He's going to win 1 game. I'm almost positive, yes, Pittsburgh has been swept before. I think the Rangers could sweep Pittsburgh. If Jarry doesn't play any of the games, I think this it's not going past 6, but I'm calling a sweep here. I'm calling Rangers in 4 versus the Penguins. And I wonder what the fucking odds would be on spreads.ca. Probably pretty good. I'm not going to go there, but goaltending is everything. Bobrovsky, all right? You want to talk about Florida a little bit?
Sure.
I think top to bottom could be the best team in the league. I think that they have some guys that did some things this year that were otherworldly. All right, Huberdeau, I think Barkov. I think these guys are an unbelievable team. They lost the last 4 games of the season, whatever. I'm not going to put too much into that. Ekblad, what's the word on him?
They're thinking he's going to come back.
All right, ready for game 1?
Maybe.
Okay, so that's a maybe right now. Obviously, he changes the dynamic of the team quite a bit. All right, that's a superstar that you've got or you don't have on a team with a lot of superstars. Bobrovsky, I don't know. You know, what this comes down to is whether Bobrovsky is all in. If he's all in mentally, if he's not going to get pulled in directions by those things that can take your focus off the Stanley Cup run, he might say, this is the time for me to put myself into a group that I haven't previously been in. It's time for me to elevate my game to the next level. If he does that, then the Florida Panthers are going to be very, very dangerous. If he does that, I think the Florida Panthers beat the New York Rangers. I do. That's without us even talking about where Tampa Bay comes into this as the East moves along. I had a couple other things that I wanted to talk about.
I thought when we were speaking about goaltenders, you were going to give me a hard time about Linus Ullmark being the starting Game 1 goalie for Boston.
So, do you know that's a fact?
Yeah.
He's
gonna
versus
start
the
Game
other
1,
kid?
Over Jeremy Swayman.
And Swayman is your guy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they went with Ullmark.
They did. They listened to Ray Ferraro.
How did they make that decision? How many more games did he play?
They played pretty much the exact same. Their stats are very, very similar.
Swayman was hurt?
No, but there was a time where he went down when Tuukka was coming back.
Yeah.
Which was more just about the waiver situation.
Right. So
they're going to start Linus Ullmark.
Interesting.
And you think about it, like Carolina's going to have to start Antti Ranta, their backup goalie. So, if Ullmark stays strong, then, maybe there's no reason to change it. I'm surprised, but,
Have we got any sort of idea what is wrong with Anderson?
Say a lower body injury. I guess he extended his leg 6 games back.
So we don't know.
There was a tweak of some kind. I'm not sure. But, I wouldn't put it past Rod Brind'Amour either to rest him, considering how many games he played this season.
Rest him?
Well, I mean,
it's the fucking playoffs.
But
so there's
before,
no time.
Leading up. So he hadn't played the last 6 games.
I see.
And he's like, we'll see what it is. Like, is he playing a game right now? I don't know.
Yeah. You could be right. I mean, he didn't need to play those games other than you would want to play maybe a couple so that you didn't go into the playoffs rusty. I mean, I don't know if you can be, you get one period under your belt. You have a good first period back. You're not rusty anymore, right? I don't know. I will say Boston has beat Carolina in the 2020 playoffs. They beat them in 5 games. And the 2019 playoffs, they beat them in 4 games. If I'm a betting man, you got to take that into consideration. I mean, they have had their number very recently, as recent as the last couple of seasons. That's an issue.
And to your point about veteran leadership in the locker room, like the Boston guys have been there and, maybe they're able to keep calm.
Right.
And that's something that the Carolina guys, Rod Brind'Amour is a great coach, so the team's going to be ready.
What about UC Soros and Darcy Kempers in Nashville and Colorado? What's going on there?
At least Game 1, we're talking about David Riddick being the goalie for Nashville.
So Soros is out.
Soros is out for at least Game 1.
And do we know?
That's the last report I've heard.
And who is Riddick?
David Riddick, Big Save Dave is what they call him.
Big Save Dave?
Yeah, which, I don't know if that's like a tongue-in-cheek, but Big Save Dave's going to have to stand on his head against Colorado Avalanche just to even stand a chance.
Where did they create that?
I don't know. I saw it.
That's great.
The teammates might call him that.
Big Save Dave. And this Darcy Kempers, what's the story there? I'm not familiar with him.
So Darcy Kemper was this was his big chance. He was lost in Arizona for the past few seasons.
Yep.
He's a great goaltender. There was even talk that he would maybe be one of those top picks for the Canadian national team. And then, he's playing in front of a great team, and he hasn't really been, I would say, as good as he could be.
Well, they win a lot of games, 6-5, 7-6, 6-4.
And their backup, Pavel Francouz, is definitely a backup, but he's solid. So if Kemper gets a little bit, shaky early on, maybe they make a switch, but
this is big news because I think the Preds without Soros are a completely different team.
Totally.
I don't know what the odds are with that situation. Let's talk a little bit about Kings versus Oilers. Give me your Kings breakdown.
I have the Kings in 6.
Wow.
And
Kings in 6.
Kings in 6.
That means not even going back to Edmonton for a Game 7.
That's right.
Wow.
So, but, I think...
Where are you pulling? What? Tell me.
I would say the recency bias of Edmonton's lack of aggression going into the playoffs, that, the penalties that they call on their top-notch players in the regular season, those aren't calls. in the postseason.
So you don't think they're going to get as much power play time?
I don't.
And Edmonton wins games on power plays.
Correct. And I mean, like we've been talking about goaltending, there's no doubt that Mike Smith has been playing great at the end of the season. This is kind of one of his last chances. And so anything could happen. But
who's playing in goal for the Kings?
So that's what I was going to say is that Jonathan Quick has got 2 rings on his hand. You know, he's starting off just like you said. Everybody's starting with zeros in the stat column. I think Jonathan Quick brings his A game, and I think he wins a big part of the reason why we win that first round.
Do you think Jonathan Quick? How many more years on his contract does he have?
He has 1 more after this year.
He has 1 more. All right, so it's not a contract year, but it's definitely a statement that he's got some gas left in the tank.
And, you know, at the beginning of the year, the expectation was that he was going to sort of mentor Cal Peterson.
Yep.
And he just didn't let that happen. He took the net. The guys love playing in front of him, obviously, and he's got 2 rings on his hand. That's why I like the Flower pick. It's why I like the Kings pick.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think everyone's saying the Oilers win this series. I think the Kings have as good a chance beating the Oilers as the Oilers have of beating the Kings. It will be interesting to see what the refs do as far as is there going to be consistency with the penalties that were called during the regular season on the Draisaitl's and the McDavids. I don't watch them enough to know. But I think that if there's a series, if there was one single team that the LA Kings had a chance of beating in the first round, the Edmonton Oilers are their best chance.
Totally.
They got the best fucking pull that they could get.
Totally. And maybe what you said earlier this season when they Edmonton acquired Evander Kane, maybe that's the difference. And maybe that's the big thing that we talked about, you know, a couple weeks back when he came to the team.
Listen, I mean, the kid, Kane ended up the season, I think, with 22 or 23 goals. He definitely has played well during the stretch. I think he plays too slow of a game to be as effective in the playoffs. I think his skating is a question mark for me. He doesn't get up and down the ice quick enough. But when you play with those guys, you know, and he does get a lot of power play goals. I don't know. I think the Kings take that series.
Darnell Nurse is hurt, so
really?
He's banged up, so they're not sure if he's going to play this evening. I think he finds a way to get on the ice, but you know, I'll take it if he's a little dinged up.
I'll tell you the other thing. I would take the Flames to sweep just as a cherry on top bet. Why not? Why not just sprinkle a little dust on there? 340 goal scores. Markstrom versus who?
Probably Jake Ettinger.
Okay.
And he's good, but yeah, Markstrom for sure. And I think to play to your point again with coaching, I mean, Sutter's got those guys fully bought in.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, there's a lot of statements that need to be made amongst players on that team. I mean, Johnny Gaudreau's, it's his time. I mean, you got to win a series. You got to put the team on your back and you got to do some things. Okay. Tkachuk, Calgary, I don't know what's going to happen with them. I don't think that they can win the Stanley Cup. I don't think they have that type of depth. I don't know who their third or fourth line is. I wouldn't be able to tell you. But I think they're going to steamroll Dallas, and I think that's that's an easy series for them.
You know, I think it was supposed to be an easy series for them in the bubble, and then they got beat by Dallas. So they have that sour taste in their mouth already.
Right.
And, you know, just to the last part of the season, I think they were even expecting to play Nashville. So the fact they're playing Dallas, here's a redemption moment. And I think you're exactly right. I think if there was a sweep for me, I think it's Calgary. I think Calgary runs right over them.
Jean-Luc Pierre on Columbus, is that his name?
Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Pierre-Luc Dubois.
But he went to Winnipeg.
Oh, he's in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
So he posted, I'm trying to figure out what the Winnipeg Jets travel attire is, because I've seen some guys come off the plane in casual clothes, and I've seen some guys come off the plane in suits without ties. Now, is it because the guys with suits just didn't want to pack travel clothes? I think that it's optional. I think you can wear either or. That's disturbing to me because at least if we're all going casual, I want everyone going casual. Now, I don't want some guys in suits and some guys in, they're chinos, but they're cool chinos, right? All the style is bad. None of these guys know how to dress. They all fucking overdress, and it just drives me crazy. And I think the league would be, if I was running the league, I would hire an NHL employee that was in charge of a stylist slash trend information giver to the players. Like, these are the trends, all right? These are some of the brands that I think are going to fit well for your body types. We've already prearranged deals. You can buy directly from them. Like, the NHL it would do them right to just pay somebody $125,000 a year to have that job. But they don't think like that. They don't think outside the box. But I will say, Dubois tweeted something, a picture of himself getting off the bus, and it was normalize normal clothes, which I thought was quite funny. And it just, normalize normal clothes. Like, since when do we have to put these guys, like, either wear fucking tuxedos, all right, or let them wear whatever they want, right? And maybe I like the hybrid. Like, guys, you know what? You can wear whatever you want, but I need you in some sort of shirt and tie. So if you want to wear a nice, slick, clean pair of jeans with a dress shirt, all right, and I would say go to Brooks Brothers, and Brooks Brothers has a great stretch dress shirt, okay, with either a button-down collar or the nice Italian spread collar, whatever you want. But nothing looks better than a crispy white stretch dress shirt with just a clean black tie, pair of blue jeans, and some nice black boots. You look like $1 million. Fucking rose gold watch, you're all set, all right? I'm interested to see what the dress codes are going to be for the Stanley Cup playoffs, because I don't know if there's consistency amongst teams. If it's at the bubble, they changed it. Like, who fucking knows where it's going this year?
Is it out of, like, could they wear, like, a cool team kit? Like the coolest, like Kappa, or
the football teams do it.
Yeah, like the
Armani.
Because you sell them. You turn around and you sell those
Absolutely.
kits.
They don't think like that. They don't think outside the box. It's upsetting. Oh, by the way, just, this car rental app, Turo?
Yeah.
You know this?
Uh-huh.
So people are renting cars off of Turo, Teslas specifically, taking them to chop shops, pulling out the Tesla parts, putting in cheaper Chinese parts, and then selling the Tesla parts online. So people don't know this is happening because you get your car back and it's working perfectly fine, but they've just fucking stripped it, put in all these shitty parts. The fucking world is losing it, all right? The videos of seeing people walk into Walgreens and just raid Walgreens, I'm not going to, I'm standing firm. I'm not going to save the day. You want to fucking rob a Walgreens blind while I'm in it? Go ahead. All right. You might even get some golf claps from me. I'm not interested. It's none of my business. Couple other things that, Trevor Bauer gets suspended 2 full seasons. So this is a tough one for me. Okay. Because we have text messages that, to me, it looks like some of it was consensual. Now, the idea of what they were talking about was consensual, right? We want to have a little bit of rough sex. And then I believe I think he took it I don't think. He definitely took it a little far. Took it too far for my liking. So if you talk about one thing, but you take that one thing and you stretch it out and turn it into another thing, it's still technically that same thing, but you're now you're just an asshole and you're a bit of a creep, all right? Does that warrant being suspended by your employer for 2 full seasons? I don't know. It seems excessive. He says he's going to appeal, and they think they're going to win the appeal, but that's a big one. That's a big one. Oh, the CHL, the Canadian Hockey League. Ultimate virtue signaling fucking weirdos. They're not allowing Russians or Belarusians in their draft. What did these Russian kids or these Belarusian kids do to warrant you not letting them be allowed to get drafted in the CHL? Like, what fucking Dave Branch and all the commissioners, I don't know who the commissioner of the CHC, or, well, he's the commissioner of the OHL. It's disgusting. Like, it's fucking virtue signaling at its highest. And again, something that I'm disappointed that none of the Russian NHL players or the Canadian NHL players have said something. Just take a minute to have a soundbite, go viral, and say, this is not cool. All right? These are our brothers. We play with them. They help us win Stanley Cups. They should be allowed to be drafted to maybe leave a country that they don't agree with the country's politics anyways. You didn't fucking, when Larionov and all these guys came over from Russia during, when Russia was the USSR or the Cold War or whatever you didn't fucking banish them and say, no, you can't come here. You gave them an opportunity to come here. It's the stupidest thing. It's actually disgusting. And they're hypocrites with all their bullshit and their virtue signaling. It makes me sick. It also makes me sick that none of these NHL players stand up and say something. Tampa and Toronto, okay? It's going to be a wild series. We're 10 minutes away from dropping the puck. We have to go. All right? This is going to be an unbelievable fucking series. All you Toronto Maple Leaf fans, get excited, right? If the Tampa Bay Lightning play the game that they're supposed to play, if I get Braden Point excited and invigorated and fucking scoring, the series is over. If Cooch is engaged, focused, not cheating, the series is over. If Hedman's playing like a fucking beast and McDonough is beside him playing like a beast, the series is over. If Vasilevsky decides to not take a second off and he's sharp, the series is over. And all you Toronto Maple Leaf fans, you're going to fucking wallow in your misery and pity, and you're going to blame everyone but the people that need to be blamed. Big-time players need to play big-time games. Otherwise, they're not big-time players. All right? I want to welcome you to the 2022 Stanley Cup Playoffs. Spreads.ca. Okay? We've decided first round of the playoffs, we are specifically on Patreon, we are doing Calgary Flames games. We're only doing Patreon Calgary Flames games for the first round of the playoffs, and then we'll reevaluate. So if you're a Calgary Flames fan or a Dallas Stars fan, then you should sign up for Patreon. Those are the games that we're doing. We're going to get some continuity, and we're going to find our sweet spot. I can smell it in the air. We're going on a journey for the next 2.5 months. Enjoy the ride. Episode 6, no gruffs given. We'll see you next week.